Okay, so I am Sheena Sharapta with PF635, and we are in downtown Garland today at Dos Banderas. And we are with Josh and Tank of the Garland Police Never Walk Alone Foundation. So they're doing a lot of great things in our Garland community, so we want to learn a little bit about who they are, how they got started, all the amazing events, and just where things are to go in the future. So welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Sheena?
Doing good.
So I guess I'll introduce myself first. I'm Christian Gibson. They call me Tank in the community. I got that 22 years ago. I think it's been 22, but I got that in academy and it stuck. And so a lot of people think that they wonder why I'm calling myself Tank, but that's really the only way you're going to find me in this community, pretty much. And president right now of the Garland Police Never Walk Alone Foundation until January.
Good. And Josh?
So I'm Josh. Been with the PD for quite a while, 16 years. Me and Tank are really close because we've served on the SWAT team together. He was actually one of my team leaders for a long period of time. I worked under him and then kind of followed in his footsteps and went into the traffic unit. And we've got a really strong traffic unit, which you'll find out when Tank talks about kind of what started this thing up. But yeah, it's been a blessing. The foundation's been a blessing for our PD and us.
So when did the foundation start? What year?
I'm going to call it 2 years ago, but Josh probably knows the date better than me. We may be a little over 2 years.
2021.
2021, okay. Yeah, all right. So it's been kind of a wild storm. Most foundations, well, I'd say this carefully, but a lot of foundations maybe don't start off this quick. And what I mean by that is not that other foundations aren't successful, but a lot of times the brainstorming of what you want to do and then put it into fruition typically doesn't start up as quick as we did. And as we get to talk about it, you'll see it's more because of community backing and things we already had in place that we didn't realize we had in place. And it's probably one of the quicker ones I've seen just spin up. But because of that, here I am going, I think it's been 2 years, it's
Because it feels like 5.
It's a windstorm. Yeah, it's a windstorm.
Yeah, and most, like you said, most nonprofits, when they get started, it could be 3, 4, 5 years before they're bringing in funds and having that much support that you guys had, which just shows how strong of a community Garland actually is.
Absolutely.
So what made the foundation start? What came about?
Lieutenant Carker was the start of it, and he's a Garland police officer, or was, and he became a lieutenant, and he started off in patrol, and I knew of him. I wasn't really close with him, but then when he became a lieutenant patrol, he's eventually going to be transitioned by the chief to over traffic unit. So he's going to be one of 2 traffic lieutenants. And we become friends, if you will, only because he's my lieutenant.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of how the rank structure works. I would be one of the sergeants, if you will, even though we don't have a rank structure. It's just basically someone that I'm going to take everything by the reins and try to help run the unit so the lieutenants don't have everything on their shoulders all the time. There's a few people in traffic like that. So that we became a little closer from a working relationship. Well, he ends up getting cancer, and it's a rare cancer called mantle cell carcinoma. Well, prior to that, and again, I got chemo brain, so I can never remember my dates, but let's call it a few years before that, I had somewhat recovered from cancer. So I had cancer twice, and I went through chemo. So immediately, he kind of knows me as the guy that survived cancer twice, and so he comes to me not only as part of the traffic unit guy that helps run it with him, but also as a friend. And then what do? I'm scared. And so we had a private conversation, and he kind of dumped a lot on me, which is what I was there for. And I said, well, we'll get through this. I'll help you get through it. You got to do the walk, but I'll be there with you. And so as things went on, he's just going to, monetarily, it hurts. Even when you have insurance like we do, obviously, in the police department, you still, a lot of things hit you along with family. So what happens is I say, hey, guys, what if we were to take, $100 out of our paycheck, every paycheck? There's 19 of us total, 18 of us, not including Lieutenant Carker. And so we started donating $100 out of every one of our paychecks, every paycheck, so every 2 weeks, basically. Well, if you're wondering why I'm telling you that, it's more just to kind of let you know how fast we grew, because that definitely goes in the story. So here we're gathering all this money, and then other people start going, hey, I want to help Carker, whether it be patrol or whatever else. Fast forward, Travis Nelson flies planes now, and he instructs all the way up to the jet level, and he's about to retire. You know, we don't know this, but he's about to retire and do this from the police department after 20-something years. And so he starts flying Carker to MD Anderson. Well, so we start more or less going, hey, we can help pay for this. And I'm probably getting this a little out of order, but it gives a gist of it. It's about $2,000 for a round-trip flight on fuel. Travis wanted to foot all of the bill, but after a few conversations with him, I finally got him to chill out a little bit and let us help pay for the fuel, because he's donating everything else, including his aircraft. Well, next thing you know, we're all at the round table, if you will, what's going to be the future of the board. There's a few outside guys, but a lot of times I'll say the board is including traffic, because it really started in traffic unit. So then next thing I know, I got $37,000 burning a hole in my pocket.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm keeping. It is amazing, but it was scary too, because even though we're a police department, you got $37,000 literally in bills and coins, and you're keeping it in your drawer at your desk. You know, I mean, who does that? You know,
that was when we realized that we could form events. We started, and we had a good foundation with Dave Swavey with Guns and Hoses, kind of mentoring Tank as a leader in that. And before we knew it, we were cooking and putting things together to try to bump those funds up, because I mean, as much as we were trying $100 per officer at 19 officers for the traffic unit, only went so far.
Right.
I'm usually more of a connection person, so Josh is better at a lot of the other things. I don't even know if it's appropriate to say, but basically how to get a hold of people, you know, say, hey, can you help us? I've always really done well through, 2002, I boxed in Guns and Hoses when it was the very first Guns and Hoses boxing match. And
I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, so I was his first boxer, and kind of give you how we came to be is a lot through Swavey and Guns and Hoses, and you actually were a strong part of it also. Probably a lot of people don't know that, but they're about to. So I'm in the bullpen, and at the time we lived at the Mesquite Rodeo, and the reason why we're at Allen Event Center now is Swavey usually is saying we sold it out. They couldn't hold our capacity anymore, and we kept we kept running out of beer, honestly. So here I am sitting on top of the bullpen, basically cowboying it out, but I'm in boxer attire, and so I'm walking through the dirt clods to get to the ring, and then you have to hit your boots on the ring so you don't take dirt into the ring. And then one of our traffic is heavily involved in everything, a bunch of amazing community guys, but he's a DJ, so he has, for this whole arena, he has this what's not going to be a big enough DJ booth to play some music. And so from there, that's where I kind of got started with Guns and Hoses. So Swavey has always mentored me, so this is something, just so we're clear, you probably noticed from your other podcast with how he works in the boxing gym. He always wanted something like this too. I never thought that we would be the ones to do it, and I never thought I'd be president of. Quite honestly, just so I didn't want to be the president of this. I really did. I really wanted to. I like to work behind the curtain. So it was really the guys that pushed me out there. So I honestly, I told them I'm really busy when they came up with the great idea of starting this, what's going to be the Garland Police Never Walk Alone Foundation. And they said, hey, we need you to be president. And I was like, okay, you didn't listen to a word I said. But but it's been a journey for me. It's been good. And it's helped me work through some stuff, because honestly, and I think you can understand this. I know Josh is definitely understanding this within the realm of community events. It's busy, and I'm a police officer, so it's quite literally my second job, but that's not to include helping with Guns and Hoses in the boxing gym. So it's actually helped me be a little bit more task driven, constantly fumbling with the plates and figuring out which one I'm going to spin next. But really, Josh is going to become the president in January, and that's how fast the board is. We have 8 members, and basically they put a 2-year term on me, thank goodness. And then so Josh became president. He's going to be president in January, by the way.
Congratulations.
Guy to my right.
Thank you.
And I'm going to move to director of events.
I'm sorry.
You work with me.
That part I'm actually looking forward to. That, you know, as much as you keep me on my toes, so it's like, oh my gosh. But Josh decided, he was like, how can I make Tank busier? So I'm gonna do that, but it's gonna go back a little bit more to my roots, which is connections, because quite honestly, I love connecting.
Yes.
And that's really what my passion is. I am good at asking for money. It's hard to figure out how to do it and still to balance everything. But as far as names, I just love helping people. And honestly, I've become pretty good because of Swavey. And
Yeah, so I was going to say,
Swavey knows
he's a
so many people.
very good vision. Guns N' Hoses has been around, 20 plus years
Oh,
now?
yeah,
So
yeah.
to look
Yeah.
at what he's built in DFW, I mean, it's a great example and
Yeah.
know what you can accomplish and how you can give
Usually,
back.
it's just foundations usually don't last that long. They
Yeah.
just don't. You
Yeah.
know?
Typically about 5 years. So to have a mentor who's run a foundation for that extended period of time, I mean, it really benefited us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's so many companies that want to get involved, and part of the reason why we're doing the podcast is there's so many companies that want to get involved that don't know about the foundation, or it's even out there, and how to get involved, what y'all do. And that's the goal, is to get more companies involved, get more funds, help more Garland PD and their family. What is the exact mission that you guys follow for Garland Police Never Walk Alone Foundation?
You want to get that one?
Yeah, so of course, anything good like this foundation typically comes from a tragedy within that typically, you know, really pulls at your heartstrings and affects you, and it drives you to change and to make something better. And for a law enforcement officer, it's great because with all the stuff that we typically see, and you know, at the end of each day, we get to deal with everyone's problems, not knowing who they are and how long they've been dealing with it. But at the end of the day, when we do these events and we get to help an officer or an employee with the Garland Police Department or one of their immediate families, it really makes it great to go home. You lay your head on your pillow and you think, man, it was a tough day, but today we helped somebody, you know, who was struggling with struggles and needed that, be it an ear or some outsourcing for some counseling or financial needs. But our mission is, you know, we do these events, and we'll talk about some of those here later, to raise money for our foundation. And with those funds, we reach out to the employees for the Garland Police Department and their immediate families
Yeah,
that
that's
are
what I
in
was
need.
going to say. You help Garland PD
That are in
and
need.
their immediate family as
Correct.
well. Okay.
Because, you know, I could be dealing with some stuff and come to work, and mentally I can push that back and I can do my job. And for the most part, most people don't know. They teach us very well to push that back and do your job at 100%. What's hard is when you're dealing with a sick child, something of cancer, or some illness, or a spouse, or an immediate family member loss, a mother or father, and then come to work and give 100%. So our goal is to assist in those things, kind of help cushion that for that individual so that they can, when they put that uniform on, or they put that headset on to answer that dispatch call, or they get behind their desk to do their job for the day that helps us out on the street, that they can do it at a higher percentage because they're not having to worry about that issue at home.
Yeah, and I know in terms of mental health, y'all have told me before that it's kind of like if you're a first responder, it's kind of like you're conditioned, like you're tough and keep going, and you're supposed to be there to help everyone else. And you may remember this, I don't remember the exact statistic, but it was something like how many forms of a post-traumatic event that you go through as a first responder, and then it's like you have to go the next day and like start all over again.
So
You
the
can't-
average person might have 2 or 3 in
That's
their
what it
lifetime.
was.
And an average responder, if you were to give a 20-year career, is probably upwards of hundreds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember you said
Yeah.
you face one, and instead of dealing with that, then it's like you're back at work the next day, and then you see another one.
We
and
are
you haven't
the
even-
masters of compartmentalization.
Yeah.
To the point of detriment. Sorry, that's Judge Margaret O'Brien's.
You know, to give you a prime example of that, we had a foundation meeting or gathering the other day, and we walked in and we were running late. And what was expected is for us to come in, to smile, to thank everyone, to shake hands, and to go on about, which we did. What you don't realize is that we just left an officer's funeral, and that's why we were late. And so we don't have the time to deal with that. That goes into a compartment, into a box, and we immediately walk into a room with a smile and, hey, glad to see you, love that you made it. You know, and that's what's expected of officers each time we go out and we deal with somebody. It's like my need, my emergency is the most important right now. So we've got to help those officers and those employees and the civilians that work for Garland Police Department ease that discomfort they've got going on.
The other thing that I want to add to what Josh is saying is, both being SWAT guys, and typically traffic is former or current SWAT or bomb unit or EOD, whichever you want to call it. I guess you'd call it like a motto or a creed, but in general, SWAT team is considered silent warriors, and bomb units the same way, because a lot of people don't realize what we do, nor do we tell them, honestly. That's what you'll find in the foundation a lot, and it's twofold really, because one, we don't like to gloat. It would be for the wrong purpose.
Right.
And then also, we needed to do something that backed up the PD. And this is what I mean by this, and then you'll understand the silent warrior. So back to what you were saying, like put a Band-Aid on it is usually what officers have to do. Or been told to do. Being our tenure, 22 years and so on, it's not that you didn't talk about your feelings, but it was very selective and very careful how you did it. So, we get done with I'll be quite honest with you, so I'll give you all one right here. You just watch the family get wiped out, right? And then 3 hours later, 4 hours later, however long it took to get done with the scene, you go to you're on deep nights and you go to some restaurant, whatever that place may be. And you're sitting with your buddies. The way you would bring it up from compartmentalization is that you would be careful how you express it, but you would talk about it. And so that was really the only way you got some relief. You would never talk about going to a counselor, and you really wouldn't ever say, I'm having a real hard time with this, because it was taboo. And it was taboo because you're supposed to be the strong one in order to help the community at all times. And so if you showed weakness, are you ready to help out Sheena, who's having a whatever?
Having your job if you're showing that weakness.
So Sheena realizes that I'm human? I'm supposed to be the guy in the blue suit that comes and just fixes everything, saves her, protects her, counsels her, whatever it may be. Then I showed a weakness. And it's still hard for me to say, because in a way I'm thinking like, well, you shouldn't have shared that. So even while I'm talking about it, my brain's going, careful, because it's taboo and it's ingrained in us. And it's not really much different with firefighters. And Swavey and I have this talk all the time on Guns and Hoses, some podcasts we've done. It's just that in general, police officers do it more so where it hampers them. Firefighters do have it for sure. Police officers, I think it's more just because of the way our work is structured and how we are very singular, like on the streets. There's not an outlet even more so. Mm-hmm. What we had to do is, so Chief makes this awesome program to help out the PD, and he basically says, hey, we should take care of physical health and mental health. Because it is becoming less taboo to the point where people are bringing in psychologists to talk to us about it and say, hey, this is the reason why you're having a hard time talking to your wife about what you're seeing, because you're this. So basically it was more groomed out of marital problems and family problems. And so then what happens is they make all these basically through grants counseling sessions. Well, what we do is we say, hey, we'll be, and it's really a poor term, but I use it a lot, honestly, because it kind of fits. We're more like a dragnet. So we're there for the ones that don't want to let anyone know. So there goes the silent warrior. Because even as close as you and I are as friends, Sheena, and we really you help us out a lot with our foundation, you don't even know who we've helped.
Right.
So in a way, it's kind of I don't want to call it a burden. It's a load to carry because you have to keep this as a secret, knowing, like Josh said, that you've helped somebody, but you so much want to go, guys, girls, sisters, brothers, if you just watch, look what we're able to do. You can't. And they come to you because they want to keep it quiet. Sometimes through keeping it quiet and they see that they're getting help and it's working, some of the times we can actually push them to get to the department people that are in charge of the counseling and say, hey, if you seek this out, they can give you training days. Because imagine when I keep it secret, Sheena, Officer Sharapta, comes to me and she says, this is what my problems are. And let's say it had to do with counseling, let's just say. And we have a equestrian counselor, I have a psychologist, we have all kinds of stuff. But you say, hey, Tank, no one can know about this. That means even I can't tell Josh. So what we do even on our board is say, there's this person who's being vouched for by me, so now I'm having a kind of somewhat weird stay out of vote. I'm not good at this board stuff. So now I'm presenting it to them and just giving the facts. So we know that they don't know it's Sharapta, but they know that there's this officer. We're not even going to say female, just this officer. And so they say, okay, we're going to take care of it. When I go back to you, I'm just saying, hey, listen, we're going to help you out monetarily. But when I introduce you to this psychologist, you're going to have to burn your own days because you didn't want no one to know. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to work it on your regular days off, but I don't know. It depends on all the scheduling. You see where, so we're really quite literally silent about it. And then what happens is, let's say as you go through this counseling, you're, hey, you know what, this is helping me. And this is helping me with my life with my partner at home. So I think I want to ask for some help. What do you think, Tank? I'm like, well, if you allow me to, I'll take you to Todd Jerry and we can work on some stuff. I can also talk to your captain in private and then get you some, quote, training days. That's the best way to explain our foundation. We're very secretive, but at the same time, very out there in the community. It's a dichotomy because they go, how many people have we helped? I'm let's say Sherman Williams, because I'm about to hit them up. Let's say, how many people have you helped? How many people could we help? You're going to help a lot of officers. Yeah, but how many? A lot.
I can't tell you who, and I can't tell you why.
I'm going to be even careful on what categories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and from knowing both of you personally, I think it just shows, like through Planet Ford 635, we know who you guys are, what you stand for. We don't need to know who the who is. We know what you guys are doing. And that's why we like foundations local, but also we know where the dollars are going. They're going back to a great cause. We're helping our police officers in the community. And that's why there is so much support, because they see the good that you guys are doing. So, you don't have to always have to be out there. I mean, I get why they have to.
It's funny you say. I'm glad you said it, Sheena, because what we have also found out, I feel that I haven't taken a survey. I feel that officers are starting to understand it in the PD, and this is what I mean by this. So even I, as much as the community involvement I knew that the community wants to help out the police departments and fire. I knew that. But now that this is near and dear, and we're talking about what's considered, other than the physical or monetary, let's talk about the mental. So as taboo as that can be, hey, I may have a problem I need help with. I didn't realize the community, I was really wondering how they would react. Y'all have problems? Oh my God, the world's gonna fall apart. You're not allowed to.
Everyone does.
You're
you're human.
You're in a police suit, but that's how we think. You're in
Yeah.
a police suit. You can't have problems. You gotta fix mine. So when they actually said, hey, we want to help, I can only imagine some of the things that y'all have seen. And then when someone says, hey, we back you, we back the blue, we really support you, now I'm starting to see that they actually really do. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed is I think that the PD's starting to recognize it, and it's because of this. We just opened up basically a wellness room, which I don't know if I could talk about it or not, but we're just going to do it. So basically,
I'm hoping that sometime in the future, maybe February,
yeah,
we can set something up, another one of these, a follow-up, and
that'll
do the
be-
story
Yeah,
on
we'll
that.
that'll
go-
be through
we'll
a captain.
broadcast.
But
Yeah.
basically, what happened is officers saw that the community support, the people that came out and helped with the cooking, like Taco Casa and things like that, they're like, wow, okay, so our community does back us. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And I think everyone's just a little scared of it. That's why sometimes I take the hit on this. Some people are a little scared of it. But when you're doing something for the right reason, you know it's right, you start getting a good feel for like you're going to be okay in this. Like we should let people know how you're helping us within reason, without giving officers names or problems, obviously.
Right.
But what the PD's able to do with it.
Right. And that's what helps things grow. I mean, not to get into my whole surgeries and stuff, but, you know, if I wouldn't have put that awareness out there about this condition, you know, all the people that I've helped, and a lot of them want to remain private, and then some like to share their stories, and encourages and helps others. So, you know, there will be those few that want to share if
Yeah.
they're comfortable, and it just shows what more you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So some of our first events.
Yeah. I was going to
What-
say how I came to
Yeah,
connect
yeah,
with you
yeah.
guys.
So some of our first events, like I said, was before we were even a foundation. We just kind of went off of Tank's lead. He had kind of a more experience with Dave and Guns and Hoses and stuff, and so he kind of led these things. Of course, he is our social mediator amongst the community. He does have a lot of people out there that reach out to him, and he was able to reach out to these folks. You know, initially started off with Pie Falutin, Garland Foodies, and some of these events, and they were just coming and donating Atmos, and they were coming out, and we were just doing these meals without a foundation to raise money for Chris. So that got us started in the right way. Tank was the one that just gave us the push to, hey, we can do bigger and better with this. Let's do this, which was why the foundation said, hey, man, that's fantastic. We agree 100%, President. And and then we all just kind of fell in suit and took what we thought we had as strengths and built a board, and kind of went from there. And from that's where I believe where Tank really got to network with you was at the Garland Foodies event.
Yes. And I was like, why don't we just do a clay shoot?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of been pretty cool, the journey between Sheena and I as community involved people, because obviously that's a huge role in at what you do at work, and then mine, it's in a weird way kind of a secondary, even though I'm a police officer I should be very community involved, but you'd be surprised. So I've learned a lot of stuff off you too, and you should always be able to do that, and I kind of reflects back onto the board. What I like about all the guys on the board, we're all, just for lack of better terms, this gets used brutally, but alpha types. We're very, we drive the train in our own aspects, depending on where we're at and where we're placed. So to be able to have guys like that, but at the same time check their egos, is pretty amazing. I know I have to do it quite often. So when I always tell my guys, be proud of this, and it's just to remind them, but also keeps things in check too, is when we go into the foodies and people get you confused on who the president is or who the leader is, you're doing it right. So
Oh, yeah.
you should always walk in a group and no one can really tell who the leader is. And when I say that, it's because there's so many strong suits. There's a lot of strong suits that Josh and Ted and the other guys have that is not my strong suit. But connections are my strong suit, merely because I just, like Josh said, a lot of it's because I've been doing it so long with Swavey. I just never had to put it into something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where you came into play. When you were saying, hey, we could do this, I'm like, one, you drew me out as far as getting, like, I think I pushed you to get and start talking about your stuff at the foodies. And you're
yes.
Tank, I've never really done it like that before. Like, obviously I'm community involved, but I've never just, if I remember correctly, you're like, stood in front of everybody, got this microphone, and just went
Yeah, like I was good at, putting stuff together behind the scenes,
yeah.
and I'm good at, hey, put me in a picture, and most people wouldn't think this about me. I don't like being the center of attention, but by taking pictures and posting, we were able to fundraise for these events, or I
Right.
was able to talk about my surgeries. And obviously we were doing this for Sons of the Flag and for Light Up to Live Foundation and DFW, but we've always wanted to do something in Garland. So at the foodie event, I was so excited and, helped Lori and Jason, everyone put all the things together. And I'm like, okay, y'all go do your thing. Tank's talking, the foundation, this is great. And then all of a sudden at the end, they're like, Sheena, please come up and tell your story. And I'm like,
yeah, she looks at me,
What?
she's like, what? I was like, you got this.
because I've never done that.
But we
So-
pushed each other like that.
Yes.
So, like, why are we even going down this road?
But
this
that's, well, real
conversation?
quick, that's what got me over my hurdle to be able to do stuff like this now.
That's-
So I'm very
Now look at you.
appreciative.
Yeah.
That's it.
Of that
And-
moment.
and that's what I wanted to touch on, because now we're going to go full circle back to your comment, which was we want the community to see how we want to be involved and how they want to be involved with us and vice versa. Well, that was part of it, because if you really look at it, besides the point that we had become friends, you're not a police officer. So really, I was joining with a community business,
Yeah.
right? A big one at that.
Right.
But here was the person in that ran everything social, right?
Right.
And not only did it help me, but then it draws us together. I mean, eventually y'all adopt us as one of your foundations, which, wow, that was crazy. I think that's what community businesses don't realize is, man, we're a heck of a conduit, if you will. Like, we can actually really join people up. I mean, Lori Dotson, I always talk about, watch out for the ladies I know, Sheena, Judge Margaret O'Brien, Lori Dotson, and every one of y'all very community involved. And then once we get businesses, I mean, how many businesses have not only we helped through the foundation, but connected to other businesses? A lot.
Yeah.
I've watched other businesses shake hands on the golf courses or at the clay shoot and say, hey, let's connect.
Yeah.
So I like that part, because and we've talked about this personally, like what I should do, what I shouldn't, as far as helping out with the community, being a connector. But that's my passion. But other people in the foundation, they're good at the more of the business aspect of it. Like, how are we going to do this? It's different, and I think you understand the nuances of it.
Yeah.
That's not so much my strong suit, but Ted and Josh, that's their. So a lot of times, again, not knowing who the leader is, I go,
Yeah.
back off, run with it.
Well-
Just tell me what you need to do or who you need to connect with.
Yeah, and so many people, they're like, are you a veteran? Are you a first responder? And I was like, no, but this is my way, like, as a citizen, to be able to, like, serve and give back.
Yeah.
Is my talent is networking and connecting. And like you said, all these businesses, they are able to come network with each other, do
Yep.
business with each other, and then in turn, they're all donating back to a great cause and supporting the mission, and then to grow, every year. So
Well-
when we had done this in DFW, I'm like, hey, we can do this in Garland. Like,
Yes.
why wouldn't we want to do this locally and make a huge impact?
And that's why we made our foundation so singular, which we kind of had to, because there's Assist the Officers program out of Dallas. They're amazing. But even when I talk to them and then some of the psychologists that work with them, they're like, so who are you helping? Like, when you start, what are you starting with? I said, well, think of that entire PD except for the courthouse. And they're like, okay, well, what do you mean? We've never seen it. I said, okay, so forensics, jailers, dispatchers, police officers, administration, all the administrative ladies and guys, and all their immediate family. And they're like, okay, hey, man, you starting like that?
Yeah.
And I was like,
There was a time we were
Yes, I
worried that
am,
we were
and-
going to go broke before we got
Yes,
started.
and our the inaugural clay shoot was last year, and Josh and I paired up on that, and he had a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, look, I got you. No matter what, don't worry. Like, this is going to be successful.
When we landed that connection with you and with Ford and at 635 and stuff, we thought we'd conquered the world. It was like, we've got it. Now, since then, we've realized that by networking all those businesses and stuff and communities, they're donating to our foundation, but we're also advertising their companies and their sponsorship and their giving, and then also introducing to other small businesses and other large businesses, and so
And
they get to grow
cultures.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely.
It's a win-win for
cultures.
everyone.
Because we start, so you were strong at the beginning, but also, and I'll just say her name, Jennifer Nguyen, with the Asian American community. So you got Saigon Mall, all that area. Well, let me tell you something. That's the fourth amazing, powerful lady that I love to know, and so humble at that. She actually really gave us a jump start too, if you will, monetarily. She's like, hey, let me help you out through the Asian community, but here, I want you to understand, because she runs like a news network for the Asian Americans, and she goes, we really want to be more involved, because certain cultures are kind of closed off to themselves, and sometimes it's because of the outside community. So if you will, so that's more West Garland. So North, South, and East Garland may not know, they've gone to the west side of Garland, the deep west side, closer to Richardson, a lot of the Asian community, and maybe they've gone shopping there, had their banh mi sandwiches or whatever, but they really don't know anybody, right?
Yeah.
So again, going full circle, some of these businesses were like, I never knew how to connect with them. I'm like, 1 second, let me make a phone call. And so she asked, she goes, I want your help on getting us out there. I think we can do something great together. And let me tell you, she's an amazing lady. I didn't realize how far her reach was, but I know there was the V-Rock, and they're trying to, it's a Veterans Outreach Center out of Rowlett, and they're trying to get water to Houston during a flood. And I'm really still quite amazed why sometimes police departments have problems with this, but they couldn't connect truly with the Asian community to get them water. I don't understand that. Maybe it's because I try to break that mold, but so basically they're wondering how to do it, and he says, man, I got this 18-wheeler. So here we are in Rowlett at the time, and hey, Tank, I'm calling you because I have an 18-wheeler full of water, and we need to get to the Asian community, and no one can get a point of contact. Like, how is that? Why?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so the first thing I thought of was I need to call Jennifer Wynn. Jennifer Wynn says, okay, give me a few minutes, Tank. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'm like eating popcorn, just waiting for this theatrical thing. Like, wow, what's she gonna do? And sure enough, she calls probably, I don't know, 20 minutes later, give or take. And she says, who's this guy? And she goes, I says, V-Rock. She goes, give me a contact with him. He calls me back and says, hey, there's an 18-wheeler out to Houston. We got a contact. Okay.
It's all about
I tell you that
networking.
story to tell you about community involvement. So in a way, our foundation did reach out a little further. Now, that wasn't because of our foundation, but that's because of the things that we're able to do.
Yeah.
And the people that we know, because that's really what it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And so I want to work with more community businesses. It's like here in downtown Garland with all the construction going on, honestly, as much as I do agree it's going to revitalize Garland, it's going to look beautiful. On the emotional side, so remember, this is not the illogical side, and we all have that, right? They always say put your emotions to the side and put them in check. Sometimes I have a hard time doing that. But my emotional side, I know these people that are in these restaurants, and it breaks my heart because I'm like, I know what we're doing, guys, but I'm worried. And so, like, even being on this podcast, come to downtown, work around the construction, and get into these restaurants,
Yeah,
especially Dos Banderas, because everybody knows this place.
Yeah.
But
It's definitely been a staple for our PD.
That's the emotional side of me. Like, what are we doing with these people? They need help, So sometimes I forget to leave my emotions in check. So like when I first came here, I'm like, look what they're doing. What are they thinking? They need a route, It's kind of the police officer side of me, but the emotional side, thinking about the community, because we constantly want to help out these people, because you'd be surprised how many of these businesses have quite literally impacted us as a police department and helped us out. Dos Banderas has done it. Main Street Cafe has done it. There's so many people, and so we try to return it. So yeah, I get a little touchy on stuff like that. Hey, you're messing with my friends. They've helped us out.
Yeah, and that's why we'll jump into these, but the events, so we can cover what's coming up too. But if you are a business and watching this, it's the perfect place, like you said, where you can connect with others that you may not even know about.
Yes.
So it's a good place to get started to do business, and then you're giving back. So it's that win-win. But that inaugural clay shoot we did, so it was at Texas Gun Ranch. From everyone coming together, and that's one thing I'll say about all the events is it's about everyone as a whole. Everyone
absolutely
did this, was a part of it, and we were able to donate $40,000 back last year.
That was awesome.
So the second one is coming up on March 22nd, Texas Gun Ranch. And you can do a $2,000 team combo, so that's 4 shooters. You get station signage, banner recognition. You can put stuff in the thank you bags. Come talk at the event. So you can verbally reserve now for that, or if you guys want to pay before the end of the year, whatever works. But right now we have 30 teams that are 100% committed, and we've got like 15, 20 more in the works right now.
Yes, and again, we're 501c3,
Yes.
so if you're needing that tax write-off, whatever, we've got that paperwork. We can get that out to you. And then, last year's event was fantastic. Our first one, this is the second one. Of course, we expect it to be better. A lot of businesses still in Garland that we haven't tapped and
Yes.
hit. A lot of it's just because we just don't have that connection or that right person to reach out to. I'm sure they're wanting to help, at least help
Don't
someone.
worry, Tank and Sheena will be with you soon.
So
We're coming for you,
yeah.
Kraft.
Sherman Williams.
That's been my goal for like 9 years.
GarlandPoliceFoundation.org. If you just want to go on there, they can go under the events. It's got all the clay shoot information
Pictures and info.
And then for those that don't have a team or can't put together or just have no interest in shooting clays, hey, sponsor a team, send a team, or if you want to
Yes.
donate it back to our PD and send some of our officers out, we'll put some officers in that free slot
Yes.
and go out and shoot. Thanks to you, we'll make it known that they sponsored the team.
Yeah, there's Yesenia Garcia with NTD Mechanical. I actually met her through LinkedIn. They just want to support you guys, so they're going to sponsor a team of 4 police officers, and then they're going to come out and go in a golf cart and hang out and watch them shoot, and then listen to obviously the speeches and learn about the nonprofit. Texas Day Brazil is cooking food, completely sponsored. So if you don't know any clay shooters, you can do that and sponsor and still participate in the day.
Who was that business again?
NTD Mechanical. They're out of Garland.
Quite honestly, how smart on their part too, because we're community involved directly within Garland, but between our Lake Fork Bass Tournament, our clay shoot.
Yes.
It's there's so many. It goes Metroplex, quite honestly.
Yes.
But Garland, this is the best social. I call it physical media. But I'm not good at social media really. But I like being in person. So I think that's awesome to hear them say that. Because sometimes people will say, hey, we're going to sponsor a team, but quite honestly, I don't see them out there. I'm like, man, get someone to represent your company. There's so much to be had here.
Yeah, and
you don't know what deal you're missing out
there's what I love too is a lot of the nonprofits we help, they're in DFW, right? So a lot of businesses, they're like, hey, I'm supporting here, and this is impacting all over Dallas-Fort Worth. You might be able to pull easier where y'all are centered in Garland and focused in Garland. So one would think, maybe just Garland companies, which is good, but we want to grow. And what I love is just that support is we've got people from Rockwall and Terrell, Gardner Construction, Dixon Erosion Control, Planet Lincoln and Dallas. They're all coming to this event. So now we have outside companies coming to support Garland, which is huge, and my
it
ultimate
gives you
goal,
a heck of a reach, right?
Yeah. And y'all know this. My ultimate goal is for all of us to come together and raise $100,000 for you. So whether it's this year or for the 3rd annual, it's to keep growing.
I would agree.
And helping.
That would be amazing. We should try to do that.
March 22nd is the clay shoot. You can reach out to me, Josh Tank. Just get signed up, and then we'll get you all the full details on that. And then tell us a little bit more about the bass tournament, and then we'll kind of finish up about kind of where you think you guys are going.
So again, come January, me and Tank are basically going to flip spots. So as of January, Tank's going to be carrying all this load with all these events.
But you're still going to come to our lunches on events?
I'm gonna whatever Tank wants me to do, I'll
trust
be
me,
there.
he will.
I have a feeling he's going to punish me.
We're going to put that in your contract.
Yeah. The minute he's taken this over, we've thrown some new events and different things in the works. But the Mad Dog Moore Bass Fishing Tournament it's been going on for over 20 years. The only thing that's changed with it is the website. So we've moved from the Mad Dog Moore Foundation over to the Garland Police Never Walk Alone Foundation. So we have that set up. We've got Instagram, Facebook. You can reach us through those, through the website. The date is to be determined. The reason why I say that is because when we took this over 2 years ago, we promised Dave and Guns and Hoses that we would set our fishing tournament on a date that does not conflict with the boxing tournament. And in the last 20-something years, they've always been on the same weekend. So to raise our foundation and to also raise his, we're like, hey, we'll do it. We'll make the move. And in doing so, he is cooked for our fishing tournament. So now we've got food that we serve at the fishing tournament. And thanks to Dave and Greg Fowler, Taco Casa, and Ranch Hand out of Rockwall Meat Company. And these guys donate, and we put on a heck of a, you're not going to go hungry.
Yeah, and for those listening who don't know, can you talk a little bit about the tournament, the officer that it's honoring?
So Mad Dog Moore, he's one of our officers that passed away in the past, long before I came to the PD. The Mad Dog Moore fishing tournament was raised to help raise money for his family and tuition for his children, and we're successful in doing so. 2 years ago, 20 plus years this foundation has went on this fishing tournament, their board decided to dissolve, and we were just coming
because
together.
Of retirement.
Yeah. A lot of the folks that were running that in the PD were retiring. And we as a foundation just starting didn't want to see it go away. And so that's where Tank stepped up and started networking with those guys and was like, hey, can we pick it up from y'all and keep going with it? We're going to change some things about it, but we're not going to change the name because it still represents a fallen officer.
20-something years it went.
Yes, and then y'all became the beneficiary of that. So then now you got two big events going.
So we have the clay shoot and then the Mad Dog Moore fishing tournament that we adopted. And again, the date is to be determined. Typically, it'll fall the end of September, 1st of October timeframe, and we'll have that posted on the website as soon as we get that worked out with Guns N' Hoses.
And y'all have is it 200 plus anglers that come out to fish the tournament?
This last year, we had 117 teams, which was an increase from our first year. So we had 117 teams. We continue to grow it by making it better. And
it's 2 per team, right?
2 per team. And so we continue to grow it with, just food, and friendship and family and business and advertisement and everything that we can throw. And we do have a lot of sponsors that sponsor that. And we try to keep that, separate from our clay shoot. We don't like to tap our sponsors too much.
Yes.
Because we truly believe that we've got to give back to those sponsors, either advertisement or maybe we come help something out with your business. We've moved railroad ties for companies to help build patios. We've done tons of stuff to help our business out whenever we can do it. And then we partner with other foundations to help do it. Also, we have now we don't run this foundation, but we cook for it. But the First Responder Soccer Tournament is coming up July 13th, 2024. So that's Winners Park here in Garland. We back our Asian community and stuff. They run that, they put it on, and we cook for them. We have the food donated, and we put the aprons on, and
I think we're sponsoring your T-shirts.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
And we might,
the uniforms.
Just for PD, maybe get you some socks and some more gear.
I'm
well, you're a soccer
the
person.
players.
You're soccer, Sheena, so you should know.
Well, I think I told Josh, I was like, we're sponsoring 6 teams, and he's like, what about this or that? And I'm like, we'll do that for the police. We'll get you socks.
What I was going to tell you, too, is we recently got attached to a Ranch Hand Meat Company, and they've been doing great things because Guns N' Hoses does a lot of the cooking for us, and that's what's awesome. So that leads into, there's 3 foundations that are all Garland PD created. I take that back. Out of Garland PD because they all work there. So you have Paige Nolan, who runs the equestrian therapy, Aisling. She's always with us. You have Guns N' Hoses of North Texas. That was created. The boxing gym kids help sometimes. That's because of the Garland Boxing Gym and Swavey again. And then our foundation, the Garland Police Never Walk Alone. So we couldn't find a longer name for our foundation. But they, so what you'll see is we're kind of like the 3 amigos. So I have the people that I'll work with in the background, like you and Lori and all that. And then I have the foundations. Well, the 3 amigos are Aisling Equestrian Therapy, Guns N' Hoses in North Texas, and then us. And so a lot of times at our foundations, we try to keep it family oriented too. So we'll have horses there, and that's through Paige. We'll have the cooking there, which is Guns N' Hoses, and we all benefit each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You reach more people, too, when you got more people working together.
But we always back each other up. So there may be something going on with ours that you're hearing about, and so we're going to back up. Guns N' Hoses is going to back us up through food, and then Aisling or Paige is going to back us up, bringing the horses, not only for people to see if there's counseling and a lot of different things going on with that through physical rehabilitation and whatnot, but also just people love horses, right? But this time we start finding we grow through the other foundations too, because Paige is now going to have, and I'll just say it because I'm going to say it, so maybe she'll talk to me later, but she just got the entire Mesquite Rodeo.
Cool.
And she's going to do a ranch rodeo, which
Okay.
I was going to talk to you about later anyways. So our foundation is going to be a big help in that. We're not going to be at the forefront, but it's like once you start seeing us in a community, you'll see the three of us, Swavey, Paige, and us. That's our three foundations, but they all come out of the Garland PD, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and Paige has even gone with her horses to the Marine Corps Camp Pendleton to help the active Marines. And this is all through people in the Garland PD. And that's what I'm talking about. The reach is crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of these businesses, what I love too is there's a lot of businesses that sponsor the Sons of the Flag shoot for burn survivors.
Yep.
And then when they see it, they're like, wait, you're doing another one?
Yeah.
I want to do the Garland Police Never Walk
That's
Alone
it.
shoot.
They come and done. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and vice versa.
And
So,
so
it's,
that's the community involvement
Yeah.
too. But think of businesses, meeting. That's where I'm talking about Metroplex. Because of the reach.
Right.
It's
And
all,
that's what we want.
Yes, it all comes
Well,
together.
Tank doesn't know this, but December 23rd,
Oh,
I
boy.
think we're helping Guns and Hoses do some cooking for the First Responder
Yes.
Bowl.
Yeah.
I do know
So
this actually.
again, not I got word yesterday. He may have got it a week ago. But that's how we support each other. You know, Dave reaches out with Guns and Hoses, says, "Hey, I'm cooking for these guys. I could use your manpower. We're in."
yeah, and then
Yeah.
you're networking more and
helping.
more.
That's
Yeah,
all we
yeah.
do. And we don't get paid for any of this, but I mean, the involvement is pretty awesome because
No, the people you meet and the things you can do. And
full circle back to Josh. I'm going to tell you right now. I deal with a lot of stuff. Obviously, what I stayed away from on our entire conversation here because I wasn't quite ready for it, but I'll say it now. So right before I'm on my vacation now, so that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. But right before vacation, December 3rd is the anniversary of Josh and I's lieutenant who committed suicide. So basically, this helps us mentally. So I go full circle back to Josh's statement. He's absolutely correct. Sometimes the healing for me, sometimes it takes a little bit more than that. I just counseling myself and being open to talk about it like this, which most officers aren't, so it's hard for me to do, is to know how many people I've helped. So not only my own
it's a
brethren,
form of therapy.
Absolutely, because even people in the community, I have found when I open up to them, and I have been on some obviously pretty impressively critical calls where I need to counsel someone, but the only way I'm able to do that is just to open up and show what I'm suffering through. And I feel that I've helped. It helps me feel better that I've
Yes.
helped some people.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that the community sees that and they're like, oh wow, these guys are human, and they're not grandiose about it. But I've heard some of their stories like this one I'm telling now, and they want to help people because it helps them. It's really quite literally that pure. Because I'm sure as heck not getting paid for this. I mean, I don't mean that bad, and I don't want to be paid for this.
Right.
But it helps me and it helps my brothers. I've watched my brothers on the board and my sisters do better because they're starting to talk about it, and they almost have to in order to help the other troops. You can't be closed off and then tell other people to open up, right?
Right.
So I guess that's the part that I left out when you're asking to be. So to be brutally honest, that's it. And we're still getting through this first year without him and helping his family, which we do often. So I think that's the biggest thing is the community involvement to help us. It helps us.
Yeah,
actually.
and I understand that completely. And I was before I met you guys, but when I was doing the clay shoots for Sons of the Flag, and Landon knows this, who's filming right now. But leading up to those events, before I had my surgeries, I was miserable, and it was just like I have to do these events because at the time there wasn't, Lori or Christella that knows how to execute these events. It was kind of me executing at the time, and I was like, if I don't show up, then this 40-50 grand that's here, Sons of the Flag won't get it. And that's what made me just keep going. And then after these surgeries, when I was helping people and I had been through that experience of the surgeries, it was a form of therapy and healing for me, of knowing what I overcame and how I conquered it. So I kind of relate that to y'all, that when you're helping these officers, they're feeling validated and understood from someone who's gone through it, and you're able to reach them.
You hit the nail on the head,
That's it.
Sheena, because that is it. How do you explain what you went through? We're friends. I've gone through cancer twice, chemo, SWAT, attached to bomb unit, police for 22 years. I mean, I can go critical incident. I can go through crazy stuff and still not understand what you went through. I can have compassion. I can understand nuances of it. I can tell you how I went through it. So I really appreciate that you just said that, because that is it. Because a lot of officers, when we do these community events, we drag a lot of them out there. We're trying to push, like, look what the community's doing, so they can open up. Because I don't think anyone would really understand our job. And then I started realizing, well, why are you trying to get them to understand your job? What? That doesn't make sense. But that doesn't mean that you can't share with them maybe some of the stuff you've gone through, or to invite them to see part of your life a little bit more than usual. Because quite honestly, especially police officers, again, probably more so than firefighters, very closed off, because no one understands. We'll quit trying to get them to understand it. Maybe just let them be compassionate.
Yeah.
And that's a huge help in our line of work. And I've seen it actually in some cases, depending on the officer's just makeup. I've seen it help them a little bit.
No, that's good. And I'm going to introduce Matt with Dos Banderas and kind of transition over a little bit, and kind of, before we talk about the restaurant, kind of what's your take on everything we've been talking about and their foundation, and then hear a little bit more about the restaurant, and then we'll end on where you guys are going with the foundation.
Yeah, sure. So, pardon me. Everything you guys talk about is really impactful for our community, right? And so, the city of Garland is the 13th largest city in the Metroplex, or in Texas, for that matter.
Yeah.
Like maybe the largest suburb of Dallas. And so, you guys are a much larger organization. We're a much larger city than a lot of people realize. And so, bringing all these people together and mentioning the reach, mentioning just it's the ripple effect, right? Just throw the stone, see how far that thing goes. And so appreciate you guys throwing more than one stone. It's really cool. So I also thank you guys for your service to our community. It's really neat what you guys do.
You know, surprisingly enough, and you may not know this, but your tables at many points in time were therapy after a SWAT hit. Our SWAT training day, our tough time, we would come in, and that's just the norm, to come in, sit down to SWAT. And although we're laughing and cutting up, that was our therapy moment there. And then it was uniform back on and back to duty.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. I'm glad that we could be part of that. That was pretty neat.
More than you know, probably.
Yeah.
So tell us about, obviously, downtown Square was just redone, and we know there's construction going on, hopefully not much longer, but tell us a little bit about some of the new food, and you've got music here now, and a huge outdoor storefront.
Well, today is Texas Country Taco Tuesday, so every Tuesday night, we 5:30 to 8:30, we have a live Texas country artist that performs in our bar. Tonight, it's my friend Shelby Ballinger. She lives in Princeton. My friend Van Darian from Joshua, Texas, now lives in Nashville and is a recording artist, and she plays here. Pat Green's lead guitar player plays here with us.
Oh, wow.
So we bring in some really cool acts, some local up-and-coming guys. We've got a taco plate special, but that's not the only thing we serve, right? So we've got great burgers, great wings, great bar food, as well as, you know, your Tex-Mex traditional standards, some twists on Tex-Mex food, like a Tex-Mex cheesesteak. We do a Tex-Mex lasagna, so it's like a layered
you had me at lasagna.
enchilada.
And y'all get to eat today, too, after the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, we're doing a lot of fun things. Great drink specials. You know, always ask us, what's not on the menu? What do I need to try? You know, we don't have a secret menu, but as we continue to grow and develop, you know, we add things to our servers' repertoire and to the offerings that we have for our customers that eventually then make it onto our menu, right? So we make all of our sauces in-house every day. All of our rellenos are hand-battered every day. So this is a fresh place to get great Tex-Mex and some kind of twist on Tex-Mex food. So
I like that you say Tex-Mex, because sometimes people say, let's get some Mexican food.
yeah,
And I'm like, there's a difference. I can tell you as a police officer, there's definitely a difference, because we know all the, let's go, let's get some Mexican food, right?
Yeah.
And then, and honestly, and then, Honduran, and then we can
Absolutely.
go go back to what you're saying about Garland. Actually, Garland being an industrial city, it is. A lot of people don't realize this. So the officers joke, or at least back in our day, we called it the black hole. And the reason why is because everything came back to Garland. Right?
Everything ties back.
Jupiter, Kingsley, Waffle House in the background, blurred out. So basically, that's where you had Woody Harrelson, and with the I just want to blank the
Zombieland.
Zombieland.
Oh,
There you
that's
go.
right.
That was
Zombieland.
Garland, Texas. And
Right.
they even said, here we are in Garland,
Garland.
Texas. And of course, what they say, the city council was like, I don't really like that advertisement, because you think the world took over, but no, that's just Garland. But Walker, Texas Ranger, right here at the cafe, that was always done there. I mean, there's so many things that have come back here, even to some of the crazy things like the Colwell Center, and it's not such a great story, but with a good, successful outcome. This city, and I may be a little biased, but I feel like doing what I do that I can see DFW as a whole. This is one of the few cities that keeps a hometown feel.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
quite honestly, a blue collar, we're industrial,
Yeah.
right? So for example, what does that mean? Okay, well, Resist All hats, Master Hatters, the ones that Resist All makes the cowboy hats for the world.
Yeah.
Garland,
Garland.
Texas. Master Hatters, Garland, Texas. The oldest bombshell manufacturing company, Garland, Texas. I mean, everything we do, there's so many big names here that start in Garland, and then of course you're giving them a place to eat. But when they come downtown, you wouldn't think that we're like the fourth largest in the Metroplex as far as how many people. We have 60 square miles, 380,000 people. You wouldn't know that coming to the square. It's very down home. And I've always appreciated that. It's really the same with our PD. It's not like a normal larger city PD. Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
Almost like high school. It's kind of scary because you got to be careful with the rumor mill.
When you come downtown,
but
you don't
it's
know
really
anywhere.
everyone knows each other. Just like some of the people walking in, they were waving to me.
Sure.
Judge Margaret O'Brien's office. I got my detectives left and right in here. My public information officer just came in for lunch, and he's taking pictures of us.
Yeah.
That's what you have here. That's what's so awesome about this restaurant and the other restaurants that are here. It's very homey yet inner city somewhat, without getting too convoluted.
Sure, we have mass transit 2 blocks from here.
Mass
Yeah.
transit,
Right?
yes.
I mean, it's amazing what a
Yeah.
what a great hub this is.
We're right in the center.
Yeah.
We're definitely the connectors to a lot, from the
Yeah.
country to the city. I mean, we are right smack in the middle of it all.
Well, it's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, let's
Thank you, guys.
we'll finish up today with where do you guys see this foundation going in the future? Kind of what's the
Well,
vision?
we're probably going to take over the world. That's the beginning. Wow, that's a heck of a question.
We're trying to grow.
Yeah.
I look at some of the other foundations and stuff that we have around, and I set short goals. Last year, the goal was, man, can we get 40 grand out of this clay shoot? What's that put us overall? All right, we're still short of 100 grand. I'm looking at other foundations sitting at 7 million, and I'm like, how do we get there? They've done something
$1 million.
right. They've done something right. So we set the goals short, and we set them where we can reach them. And then in the end, that means we've gotten all these businesses, all these community leaders and stuff, and we've introduced them to each other.
Right.
And so we grow with them because
Right.
you know how it works. Like you said, they know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And then before you know it, you've grown outside the city of Garland. And you just continue to grow, and so does your companies and your businesses and your restaurants and their clientele. And so we all win.
No, definitely. That's perfect.
Yeah, and I think growing our board is one. That's a hard part. You're asking people to do extra for nothing other than it's the right thing to do, and it feels wonderful. It's a heck of a sales pitch, right? So I think growing our board, and then man, you and I have been on a few podcasts. We say this a lot, and it's our favorite, along with Swavey and I's, grassroots.
Oh,
Just stay grassroots.
Yep.
Stay humble. Always do everything for the right reason. 100% of the money always goes back to the troops. We take nothing. So I think I guess to keep that going. And I think the rest will kind of work itself out. I find typically, and we've had this conversation too, do things for the right reason, keep it grassroots.
Yep.
Sometimes take a break. You got to take a break sometimes and fix yourself so you can help others. But I think if we just stay grassroots and keep it honest and do it for the right reason,
Yep.
I feel that it's probably going to grow because there's just already been. We shouldn't have started off this fast. I think this whole conversation, it's just a lot for people to take in. But if you were to rewatch this and listen to it, honestly, because I've just went all over the place, that's 2 years. It's 2 years.
It's the people, though, of Garland.
Yeah,
That's
they
what-
did this. I mean, I can't say any more community.
Yeah, it's the community and the
I didn't
support.
do this. He didn't do this. That wasn't just the officers raising money for each other. This was community. I wouldn't have ever expected this much. And man, it's been a dream of Slavy and I's. You still got dreams coming to fruition on this one. And this, I think to answer your question, if we keep it this way, I just don't see how we won't grow more.
Yeah.
And that's all we want is growth. And like Josh says, it's going to be little steps, and there's going to be a lot of work
small
in it.
victories, I'd
Yep.
say. But yeah,
Yep.
like you said, it's putting those businesses together, helping them grow, and then in turn, more funds for y'all to help more people.
Yep.
And the mission grows, and
Yep.
and hopefully this podcast, that's what we're going to keep doing, and we'll have a follow-up just to keep educating and let the community know where to get involved, how to support, and we'll end on March 22nd. So clay shoot, any companies that want to get involved, $2,000. If you can't do that much, there's $1,000, $500 opportunities, or if you want to do $5,000, we'll make anything work for you. So, and our goal is hopefully to hit 60,000 plus for this event, and then next year, event coordinator, it's going to be $100,000.
Well, here we go. It's event director.
Oh, event
Yeah,
director.
event director. Yeah, he secretly has, and he's talking about how fast we grow. He's secretly planning a third event coming up that
okay.
is both family oriented.
Absolutely. So it's going to probably be a big, hard, long day for us, but it's going to be family going into a casino night.
Cool.
And it's going to be with somebody everybody knows, and we're basically going to go in a partnership with them on this one event. And actually, we're going to be going, the Silver Claire, are going to be going into meetings with them. And then we're actually going to have someone on the outside, quite literally, of the PD, much like you, help us be the event coordinator. So now we're about to have another, what I call a citizen, help
Perfect.
run it. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's good.
She's an awesome person, but I wanted to touch on this too, real quick, and make sure you pay attention to our website
Yeah.
so he knows it. What is
Oh,
it?
GarlandPoliceFoundation.org.
Not the social guy. All right. So, also, I want to brag on you a little bit. How long has it been? A few years? You, me, and Slavy were talking about a podcast.
Yeah.
You said one day we're going to do a podcast, and then so all of a sudden you send me a text, and it's the Garland Boxing Gym podcast with Alex. Who's doing great, by the way. Won another fight. So, and going to Colorado, but I'm sitting there going, wow, she did it. Of course she did it. And then it's like, and you're next. And I'm like, of course I am.
And
Yeah.
what's funny is, Sons of the Flag, Landon and Justin, they have this podcast with Fire Engineering Magazine.
Yes, I've seen
and then
that.
they were like, hey, will you come tell your story on trigeminal neuralgia?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. And then I went on, did the podcast, and then, Landon has this great setup. Well, then when he had it done in like a week, and I'm like, wow. And I didn't feel good when I did it, and I thought I was going to sound like a dude, and then
Yeah.
it sounded so good. And I'm like, man, his equipment is awesome. I was like, Landon, why don't you just do this for us?
Yeah.
So then we had the boxing one, and then I was like, hey, we need to get y'all in.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
so we're going to be doing, 1 or 2 of these a month, and then do follow-up podcast and lots of great content about what's going on in Garland and how to get involved. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but
fantastic.
yeah. So stay tuned and go check out the website. What is it?
GarlandPoliceFoundation.org.
GarlandPoliceFoundation.org. PlanetFord635.com. Dos Banderas. Texmex.com. And then get involved. So reach out with any questions on the clay shoot so we can make this successful. Get involved in the bass tournament and more details to come. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.